Google just laid off 200 subcontractors, which on its face doesn't seem like a big story. But when you look at the patterns that are happening in the job market, and when you look at the types of people that were fired, it becomes very, very interesting. I think important for us as men, as leaders to be aware of. It's a big, big deal, guys, because the pattern is real. Covered this just the other day, and I'll post a couple video links here. Salesforce fired 45% of its customer service staff. Oracle fired thousands and thousands of subcontractors in India, and Microsoft recently fired 15,000 US employees. These are just a few stories. The pattern is real, it's happening everywhere. And what we're seeing is companies are streamlining and becoming more efficient. And frankly, if you're a business owner and you're not streamlining and being efficient, they might know something that you don't. If you're an employee working for these organizations, you should, I think, pay attention. Now is the time to pay attention. And by the way, if you want to stay up to date, hitting subscribe here and subscribing to my free newsletter is a good way to do that. I'm covering all the latest AI news and how it's impacting us. Because the reality is, as men, we need to stay. We are required to stay relevant, respected, and financially free, guys. If we cannot do that, we are going to be in for a rough ride. So today's video, what we're going to do is we are going to kind of cover this story real briefly, what happened, who it's impacted, who's next, and how we can remain relevant, respected, and financially free during this really, really tumultuous time. I mean, this is it's just a crazy time. The news is coming in like drinking from a fire hose, guys. And let's start by saying, by looking at, what are the reasons here? Who was actually laid off? What's the story here? So the people that were laid off were contractors for a company called GlobalLogic. And these people were typically highly qualified. They had master's degrees, they had PhD degrees, and they joined what Google would call the super rater program. These are writers, they're teachers, people from creative fields, again, typically with these high-level degrees. And what were they doing? Well, what they would do is they would review and score and rewrite AI-generated responses to queries. So you think about like, well, what is the response you get back when you type in something into Google Gemini, for example? They're there to make sure that that stuff is human and sounds good, and that it's not dangerous or leading to, again, potentially illegal responses. That's what they're there to do. Okay, another place that they would play a role in, as I duck under this tree, another place they would play a role in would be reading the AI overview responses. If you go to Google, you type in a search term and you get an AI response. By the way, guys, I don't want to go off on a huge tangent here, but the way that businesses are showing up on Google is completely changed. Google search traffic is way, way down. I was speaking to another big AI YouTuber the other day, and it's really shocking the amount of people that aren't using Google and clicking on links in Google. They're all going through AI now. It's pretty shocking. That'll be another video. That'll be another video for all my marketing nerds out there. Okay. At any rate, these are the people that were laid off. And again, what I think is interesting here is, and we'll talk about this more a little bit later in the video, but what I think is interesting, you're looking at people that have these really high degrees getting laid off. I'll cover it in a little bit to add a little bit more context to this topic, because we're looking at highly qualified master's, PhD degrees given the axe. They're subcontractors now, working for $30 an hour and fired without notice. Okay, so let's look here. What is their complaints? What are they complaining about? What are these PhD, master's degree, writers, journalists, teachers, educators, the best of the best? What are they complaining about? Well, they say that they lacked job security, that the benefits were poor or non-existent, and there was limited transparency. They didn't feel like they had a voice. They didn't feel like they had a voice with their company. They felt like they were at the mercy of the timer. They felt like they were being judged constantly on output. And by the way, I think that this is, I can appreciate this and I understand this. Like when I'm working within an organization, when I'm looking at people that I'm leading, I go in and I very transparently say, this is the number, these are the KPIs, these are the key performance indicators that we're looking at as a leadership team. And I don't necessarily care how you get here, but I want to see these numbers each week. I want to see how many meetings you scheduled, how many meetings you attended, how many sales you made. These are important. If you're an SDR, how many people did you qualify this last week and how many of them converted into clients? Like, this is the stuff that's important. And, you know, while I'm not micromanaging them with a timer, again, it's a slightly different example, it is really important to me that anybody that's serving a job in an organization has a very clear understanding of what they need to do, the metrics they're going to use to track that, and then holding them accountable to that. So what these guys are saying is, well, we didn't like that because what happened was there was more and more pressure to rate more and more responses and rewrite them and rate them. And because there was so much pressure to do that, because we were under such intense time constraints, it degraded the quality, which I think is interesting. And there's always a balance there, because why are you being hired? You're being hired to give the highest quality response. But if you don't have enough time to handle that, there's a juggling act. And I think once we start to look at the compensation structure, that there is some more interesting stuff to examine there. They also felt that they had fear that they could not give feedback without getting consequences, and that they were laid off without warning, given the acts. Again, we're going to go into this a little bit more in just a moment, because what I want to do is first give Google's response, and then I want to kind of go into the reality as the way that I interpret it as someone who works with organizations, runs a small business, and is just examining AI on a daily basis. So Google's response here, and I'm just going to give a quote from Google. It says that these individuals are employees of GlobalLogic or their subcontractors, not Alphabet. As employers, GlobalLogic and their subcontractors are responsible for the employment and working conditions of their employees. We take our supplier relations seriously and audit the companies we work with against our supplier code of conduct. So that's legal jargon for don't hate the player, hate the game, basically. And if you know, you know. And you know, I don't necessarily blame Google for this. This is one of the reasons that you hire subcontractors. They're cheaper, there's less liability, you don't need to give all these certain benefits. They're not W-2 employees. Typically they're gonna be a 1099. So I get where Google's coming from. I've worked with a lot of subcontractors, and I will continue to do so. When I'm taking on projects, I like to have a group of subcontractors that I can reach out to quickly, efficiently, and you know, no big deal there. By the way, I recorded an entire video yesterday on Fiverr, which is a great place to get subcontractors, but I digress. So let's look at the reality here. Okay, let's look at the reality. These employees, these super raters, were getting $28 to $32 per hour, which is much higher than what most contractors for this position would get. Somehow GlobalLogic was able to negotiate a higher comp rate for their subcontractors. So I mean, this seems like so obvious on paper. You know, if I can say I can hire these super raters for 20 to 32 an hour, but I can hire super raters over here and they're only $18 to $22 an hour, who are you going to hire, guys? It's a no-brainer. I'm going to fire these 200 at 30 bucks an hour. I'm going to hire these at 20 bucks an hour. It's a 33% decrease in my spend. Are the results equal or better? I don't know. Or worse? Well, that's something for Google to contend with. I mean, frankly, Google Gemini has been mediocre at best, I think. But in any event, that's the reality of the comp structure. The other thing that I think is interesting, and this is what I want to kind of get to, is GlobalLogic, of course, has these super raters who are the master's degrees, the PhDs, but they also have generalist raters, which don't have the same degrees. They're going to get paid less because they don't have the degree. They're, in some cases, going to get hired because they don't have the same qualifications. I think this is really interesting. It's kind of moving to this place of the world where, oh, you have a degree, I need to pay you more, I'm not going to hire you. I'm going to hire this guy because he can give me the same or better result at a fraction of the cost. And I know a lot of the guys in the comments like to say, well, India's the problem, India. The reality is this, guys. If as an employer, I can hire someone to do the same or better or close to the job at a fraction of the cost, who am I going to hire? If I'm hiring a landscaper to mow my lawn, am I gonna hire the guy that's $50 an hour or the guy that's $25 an hour? You might say, well, the $50 an hour guy is gonna give you a better result. But how much better? How much better? 10% better, 20% better, 100% better? These are things that employers are gonna be looking at and thinking about. And something that you need to be thinking about if you're trying to get a job somewhere. It's something that you need to think about when you're applying. And what is your value proposition? How much better are you than the competition? Because please believe this is a competition. I'm gonna post a video up to it here. I recorded a video about how the job market's working right now and how people are applying for jobs. I mean, there are, when a job listing goes up, there's 1,000 jobs that are generated. There's thousands of jobs that are being generated by AI. And the people that are applying for these jobs are all AI. It's just when you compete for a job, you are competing for a job. And it's not the way that things used to work. It's not like I'll go in and get an interview. I got to compete against 1,000 other people that want this position. Interesting. The other factor here that led to this layoff is that the GlobalLogic workers here that were fired, they've been trying to unionize for over a year. And please believe that if a company sees that you're trying to unionize, they are going to shut it down. I don't necessarily know that it's fair. I don't necessarily, I think that, as workers, as contributors, we deserve rights. We deserve the ability to achieve a living wage. I also understand that corporations, I talked about this yesterday, the corporations have one motive, that's to make more money. So if you're trying to unionize, there's a risk to doing that, clearly. There's also the other reality here, and I want everyone to hear me on this. I want everyone to hear me on this because this is really important. There were internal documents found at GlobalLogic that indicated that GlobalLogic has been developing AI tools to automate parts of this Raider program. Guys, I want you to hear this because this is what is happening in every big industry. Every big company, every big industry is looking to leverage AI and automation to replace their workers. Everyone's doing it. I do not know an organization that's not trying to use AI to streamline their processes. I was actually another part of this video I was gonna record was Google laying off hundreds of middle managers. I just didn't have enough time because this story ended up being very interesting and pretty rich. But please understand that every organization is looking to outsource to AI, is looking to outsource to robotics. It is happening all across the field. I just put a picture up on my YouTube channel the other day with a giant Roomba inside of a 7-Eleven, a giant robot mopping the floors in the 7-Eleven. It's everywhere, guys. I just got back from PBD's, Patrick Bet-David's Vault conference. And I was talking to a guy there who had just been to China. He'd been to Shenzhen. And he said, the robots they're developing in China are insane. Guys, it's happening. This is coming. I just want to kind of shake people and say, guys, this is happening. And now that I have your attention, I want to say, this is the way that I'm handling it. This is the way that I'm looking at it. This is the way that I'm trying to adjust because I want to remain relevant, respected, and financially free. I want to provide for my family. I want to be able to solve problems. I want to be a valuable member of this society. This is how I'm attacking it. You might disagree, and that's fine. You might disagree on a lot of this stuff. And if you do disagree, write your thoughts below, guys. I read every comment. If you leave a great comment, I will pin your comment. I will replace my newsletter link. I will pin your comment because this is a place for conversation and for solving problems. And that's what we are here to do. So here are the implications. And I talked about this just a moment. The job displacement is coming. AI is much cheaper in general. AI bots, they don't need benefits. They don't complain. They don't unionize. They don't take lunch breaks. They are working 24/7, 365. If they've been trained the right way, if they're given the right prompts, if they have the right inputs, the right context, they are unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I'm very interested in this. So understanding that is important. It's very important, I think, right now to be diversifying your skills. The reason why I think this is important because in the past, being a real expert in one thing was really important, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I think being a specialist, there is some value there. However, the problem is that over the next couple years, and even right now, every single person has a PhD in their pocket. You can pop open ChatGPT, and you are all of a sudden a foremost expert. You know more probably about the subject than people did 10 years ago, than most people did 10 years, especially people that just got out of college graduates. Okay, so it's okay to be a specialist, but just realize that it's going to be important that you know a lot about a lot. You need to know a lot about a lot, and then AI can enhance it. You need to know enough to see when things don't pass the smell test. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Like in the marketing world, I know a lot about different ad platforms, Meta ads, Google ads, email advertising, drip campaigns, click-through rates, conversions, UTM metrics. I know landing pages and optimization and cookies. I know a lot about a lot. But I also know when, you know what, I need to bring in an expert, and I dive into my network. And this is the next thing. Your human relationships are going to become invaluable. Your network is your net worth. It's really important that we're meeting and growing our network of professionals. We're finding other people that we can partner up with to solve interesting problems. And again, this is the other thing that I think is interesting. I think the reason why a lot of people are afraid of AI is that you're just not going to be able to get comfortable right now. You're going to need, I believe, you may disagree, that I'm going to need to reinvent myself every 2 years for the rest of my life. As long as I want to be generating income, I'm going to need to reinvent myself every 2 years because things are going to be moving so fast. The things I'm doing, I honestly, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing 2 years from now because it's going to be a totally new version of myself in 2 years. And then 2 years after that, I've got another 25, 30 years of earning and value to provide, right? I'm going to be reinventing myself every 2 years. Yeah, that's my mentality because things are changing so quickly. We absolutely must be upskilling and using AI in all sorts of aspects. Don't view AI as a competitor. It is a competitor, but I don't view AI as a competitor. I view it as a tool to help me solve interesting problems. And that's my mentality. It's going to be here. There's no use in complaining over something that is a reality. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it, guys? You know, that's the way I think about it. So I'm not here I don't want to complain about it. It is here. It's a reality. What am I going to do about it? I'm going to grab it. I'm going to grab the bull by the horns. And I'm going to ride that beast. Someone didn't like the way I put this the other day, but I'm going to grab up my surfboard and I'm going to surf the tsunami. Someone didn't like the way I put that the other day, but the reality is when a tsunami's coming, the best surfers in the world are all going to surf the biggest waves in the world. Kind of like Keanu in Point Break. Anyway, I digress. The point I'm trying to make is that huge change is coming. You can try to fight against it or you can ride it. I'm going to ride it, guys. I don't know about you, but I'm going to ride it. I'm going to identify it. I'm going to ride it in everything that I do. And you know, I think the last point I'll make here, and by the way, if you enjoyed the video, thanks for liking, subscribing, and I would definitely encourage you to check out the newsletter, which is completely free. It's completely free. And it's just a better way of me getting across some of these ideas in a way that's more valuable to you so you can survive, remain relevant, respected, and financially free. But the last point I'm going to make here is that I think it's important to have side incomes and have different ways that you're generating income. You know, I'm not going to go into all the different ways that I'm generating income, but it is important that you're not just fully focused, like this is my one job, because what happens when you do lose that job? And I don't know what industry you're in watching this right now, but there's one thing I know, that the job that you're doing now is probably not the same job you're going to be doing in 5 years. Everything is going to change. It's not about having a job. It's not about having that one customer. It's about adapting and solving interesting problems. That's the way I see it. And guys, before I go too long on this, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. If you liked today's video and you subscribed, good on you. I would definitely encourage you to check out yesterday's video where I cover Fiverr. Fiverr just laid off 30% of their staff. Huge, huge news. I cover it all in detail. Go check out that video here, and I'll see you in the next one. Boys, peace.